All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So happy to see you here at the Grow, Network, and Learn stage. I see it's the lunch hour. So glad you're taking care of your human needs. We must be well fed in order to absorb new information. My name is Sasha Summer Cusino. I use she, her pronouns, and I am tickled pink. Hey. To be here with ha ha ha, but dad jokes for the win. I am really honored actually to be here with you as your MC for this stage today. And you know, part of my job as MC for this stage, but also part of what I'm so happy to do is to thank our production sponsor for this stage. Can we get a round of applause for Own the Night, please? Yes, yes. We love our sponsors, just one of many members of our community. Well, friends, here you are. You have sat upon those little seats because you are excited about a conversation titled Leveling Up Philanthropy, How Gaming Powers Fundraising Success. So what are we going to do? We are going to explore how gaming has become a powerful tool for fundraising, driving donor engagement and community support. We have some pretty awesome panelists who are going to come here and share case studies and innovative strategies that have successfully leveraged gaming to raise funds and awareness for meaningful causes. And I mentioned some really awesome panelists, but we have an equally awesome panel moderator. Now, you may have heard of this person. If you received, a single email or 100 from NWES, you might have seen this name. This person is an event strategist, an international speaker, and give this some snaps, executive director of Northwest Event Show. Hey, you know who I'm talking about. Let's bring to the stage Lisa Schulteis.
I'm going to start hiring her for all my PR, I'm just saying. So as everybody comes on up here, I'm going to be showing my age, wearing my glasses. So as we're getting settled, we are incredibly fortunate to have these amazing industry leaders joining us on stage today. This panel would not have been possible without the support of Patrick and Mike from Atomic. And their expertise in production has them working alongside each of these remarkable individuals. So thank you to them. We are thrilled, I'm thrilled, to welcome these amazing ladies to the stage. I'm going to introduce real quick just who they are, and then they're going to do a quick introduction and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do. So I have Christine Edwards here. And then I didn't even pay attention to what order everybody came in and sat down. Jackie Montstream. And then I have Martha Laughman and Sarah Kneller. So Christine, I'm going to start with you. If you can tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here with you today. This is super exciting and fun for us. So I'm the director of a nonprofit organization called the Bungie Foundation. It's the charitable arm of the video game developer Bungie. If you've ever heard of a little game called Halo, that's a game that we created back in the early 2000s. And we're now the creators and developers of a video game called Destiny. And so we started the Bungie Foundation back in 2010 because as a company, it was very important to us that we really leveraged the power of gaming, the power of our communities, and the power of our own employees to do good in the world and give back in meaningful ways. So we started our nonprofit in order to do that. We support 3 core charitable pillars. The first is around children's and well-being. We have some fun faces in the audience, like Erin, I'm looking right at you. Great partnerships across the Seattle, with Seattle Children's, but children's hospitals across the country, Make-A-Wish, Ronald McDonald House, etc. We also support humanitarian aid, largely following global crises. And we support inclusion, diversity, and equity efforts, really primarily working with underrepresented communities, helping them find their way into fields of STEM. And that's me.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie Montstream. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a community fundraising manager on the Philanthropy team at Fred Hutch Cancer Center here in Seattle. And is it better if I hold it out this way? Okay. And in my role, actually, let me take a step back. So Fred Hutch, for those who might not know, we are a comprehensive cancer center based in Seattle, Washington, and a comprehensive cancer center means that we conduct research, but we also treat patients as well. And so we focus on cancer and also infectious diseases. And in my role on our philanthropy team, I'm really tasked with connecting with new groups of communities who want to fundraise on behalf of Fred Hutch and raise money for cancer and infectious disease research. So I have, over the years, I've been at Fred Hutch for 6 years, I've partnered with the gaming community specifically to do this and to outreach to new communities and have them raise funds for us, which I know we'll get into more later.
Good morning. Wow, that's so loud. I'm Martha Laughman with Gold Star Gamers. We are a new nonprofit, very young nonprofit. We're only 3 years old, and we work with children who lost a military parent. So we take kids who lost a parent who served, and we play video games with them. So I think of our program as kind of like a combination between Make-A-Wish Foundation and Big Brother, Big Sister. So we do things like peer support groups, holiday parties, esport camps, STEM workforce development, therapy groups, memorial services, and Minecraft, mentorships, and in-person salute to services where we honor their parent.
And I am Sarah Kneller. I'm the co-founder and chief experience officer at a startup called August Interactive. Our studio is born out of a team that came out of a company called Valve Corporation, AAA game maker, and we founded a game studio based on the belief that AAA gaming, when combined with a lens towards pro-social outcomes, can really be a force for good in the world. And so everything that we are designed at is creating games and experiences that prop up organizations exactly like the ones that are sitting up here next to me right now, and provide places and spaces to create community purpose and connection, and really be able to get to the heart and soul of everything that the gaming community can offer and leveraging it for creating positive impact.
Excellent. So powerhouse sitting up on the stage over here to my left. So we wanted to actually kind of get a feel just so that they know who's in the room. How many of you are involved with nonprofits? Wow. So those numbers I gave you last week when we talked, I was totally off. Where are my planners, meeting planners, event planners? Awesome. And suppliers. Any suppliers in the room? Excellent, a couple of suppliers. So that's great. So for it's been a long day, y'all, sorry. For those who are new to this space, can one of you kind of explain what the difference is between gaming and esports?
Could we ask them real quick?
Yeah.
Who has, if you could raise your hands, like who here has done any kind of philanthropy through video games? Okay, cool. And then raise your hands, who wants to, who's interested in it? Okay, thank you.
So so if somebody wants to just maybe explain the difference between gaming and esports. Who wants to take that?
I think I'm happy to take that one. So there's a real fundamental difference. So gaming is at its heart and soul, right, a voluntary willingness to do overcome unnecessary obstacles, right? Like that's what we talk about in games. We play games so that we can be challenged, we can have fun, we can make new friends. There's all these different reasons that we play games. Similar to the way that you play catch in the backyard, right? Esports is the elevated professional tier level of mastery of craft. And so esports is really the competitive edge. So if you think of the difference between, Little League Baseball and Major League Baseball, right? So that's a very relatable way that we can wrap our heads around it. The gaming industry is absolutely massive, trillions of dollars, billions of players, a phenomenal industry. The esports industry is emerging. And so there's the entire scene of esports and competitive gaming is escalating quickly, but it is still, it's in its growth years right now.
Can I add?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I would just say to highlight, it's like everybody games. There's nobody in this room that does not game. It's like in real sports, in physical sports, like everyone shoots basketballs or has thrown a ball or thrown a frisbee at some point in your life, but not everybody has played on an organized team, which is like esports. So raise your hand if you've played a video game ever, whether it's mobile on your phone, on a Nintendo. How about this? Raise your hand if you've never played a game ever. Okay, so 100% of our population today is a gamer.
Yeah, and I think that's a great clarification. So, all right, so in terms of gaming and philanthropy then, gaming has really transformed fundraising in recent years. So what do you think makes gaming such a powerful tool for philanthropy? Christine, do you want to start?
Sure. I think a couple things sort of come to mind for me, but I think a lot of it at its core is that humans are looking for connection with each other. And they're looking for camaraderie, they're looking for friendship, they're looking for a common purpose. And games provide that in such a meaningful way. And so through the community that you can build through gaming and that common connection, philanthropy becomes sort of an inevitable outcome of that when you put like-minded people together who are all working towards this common goal, who are passionate about the same things, coming together and leveraging games for this power of good is that natural outcome. And so I think we've really been able to find a way to harness that passion, that desire for goodness in the world, and pair it with something that we all love so much and treasure so much, because it really touches the core of who we are, to really create some really exciting outcomes.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'd love to just share a quick example of how it can build community, because I think that is a big reason. I mean, my title is Community Fundraising Manager, and working with the gaming community, and specifically I work with communities on the platform Twitch, which is a live streaming platform that hopefully many of you have heard of, owned by Amazon. And oftentimes people follow gamers and, based off of a specific game that they're interested in, or based off of just the personality of that person. And so they have really created a dedicated group of people who are, passionate about this game, about their community, and want to give back. And they'll, whatever that Twitch streamer wants to support, they will also support as well, because they are a part of this community. So I couldn't agree more with that.
I think sometimes there's this idea that when people game, it's like a solo sport, a solo activity, and they're doing it alone. And there's this idea that gamers are isolated. And I would say that's very much not the case. And so just because I'm having fun with the hands thing, like raise your hand if you've ever called someone because you were lonely, or you wanted to engage with them, or you wanted to have a conversation and connect with someone on the phone, right? And raise your hand, does that ever make you feel better? Do you feel connected? Do you feel like you've had human time? So when we game with each other, we're talking to each other. We're on an app or a platform, and we're having conversations. And so we're doing an activity, we're playing a game, and we're talking, and we're laughing, and we're having a great time in this great interaction. And so think of game night at your house, right? You're having this interaction, this back and forth, and you're bonding. So gaming is the same way. We get these communities together, and I'll say my son's best friend, one lives in Africa and one lives in Eastern Europe. He's never met them, and they are very close because they play the same game, and they love each other. They really do. They've been together for years.
Yeah, and that's actually something we all spoke about last week when we were talking before this event, because I am the mom with the now 26-year-old, who was the mom that was always yelling, right? Stop playing the game, go do your homework, because I didn't understand that that was his way of experiencing community. And so this community that is built by this industry is actually very powerful. And I think people also don't realize that this community also has influencers in it, no different than any other industry has influencers. and potentially even larger influencers, right? So I know that there are people that he follows. I know that there are people that I now follow, right? So I think it's an industry that is really building this community, and I think people are starting to kind of see that a little bit more as well. Let's talk about some fun things. Can you all share some notable campaigns that you've done? Something that you've done, some kind of, what the end result was, why you did it in the first place. And I just want to be able to share those stories with them. So who wants to go first?
Can I share the Bungie campaign they did for us?
Sure. Do you want me to, or do you want
you
to? I have a couple other stories too that I would love to share, but one of the sort of mechanisms that we've created to engage with our player community, and I will say that the Bungie Foundation is sort of unique in the sense that largely our funding, probably like 98% of our funding, comes from the Bungie player community. So the people who play Bungie games is our ecosystem, which makes us probably one of the luckiest nonprofits in the world. So we want to actively engage with them on a regular basis in ways that are meaningful to them. So we put on a monthly live stream where we just get a couple of our employees together or some of our content creators together, and we just play Destiny for an afternoon. And each month we highlight one of our charitable partners and gamify the way in which we can raise money. And so in this case, we'll oftentimes play player versus player, and if Team Bungie wins a match or wins a point, we donate money to a specific organization. And so we did that a number of months back with Gold Star Gamers, and in the matter of an afternoon raised about $12,000, all through playing games and just playing a PvP match with other people in our community who kind of hopped into our servers and randomly got matched with us. And so they had a really fun, engaging afternoon playing Destiny with some of their favorite Bungie employees and or content creators, streamers, all while learning about Gold Star Gamers, learning about their mission, taking a deeper dive into the impact that they're making in their communities and raising money along the way.
Go ahead.
Great, I love that example, and brings in two of our panelists. So at Fred Hutch, I lead our streaming gaming program. It's called Stream for Fred Hutch, and we work with about 50 to 60 Twitch and YouTube creators, gamers. We kind of use creator, streamer interchangeably, so if that's kind of, what I'm switching between, that's why. And we have about 50 of those folks that host these live streams and raise money for Fred Hutch specifically. And we have a few big events every year, but an event that we've been doing for 3 years, we call Raids for Research. And raid is a term on Twitch where a streamer, once their stream ends, they can send all of their current viewers to another person's stream. So it really builds community on Twitch. It's something that a lot of streamers like to do, like, hey, my stream is ending, but go check out this, other gamer that, is doing some really cool things. And so we've built an event around World Cancer Research Day, which is September 24th. It's a week-long event where we have Twitch and YouTube creators fundraise for Fred Hutch during that week, and we actually bring on Fred Hutch scientific staff, so researchers, onto these live streams. Kind of more, sometimes they're more like AMA style, people from the community can ask the researchers questions, and we've really found a lot of success with providing the researcher to the streamer who's hosting it, because it really helps empower them to fundraise for the organization. And also, a lot of researchers also like to play video games, so that's been really fun to be able to connect them, get them involved with philanthropy in a way that they're really interested in. And that event last year, I think, raised around $25,000. So, and we had a media production company who streamed a few professional streams on campus for us as well to really tie the event together. So that's just one kind of fun example of how we get creative in the space.
I actually love that you're getting access to the researchers then too, right? Because that's not a group that you normally would have access to. So it's a really unique way to potentially bring together groups that wouldn't normally be brought together. So any other examples anybody wants to share?
Yeah, so we have a campaign that we're running right now. We just did our second episode, and it's based on, actually, Gold Star Gamers is one of the partners that we have. And so the whole point of the stream is that we're raising awareness around the military community, lifting up veterans, and the core of it is really raising awareness for veteran suicide and military suicide prevention. Gaming gives us this really profound way to have very serious, very deep conversations with very light touch and very low barrier to entry. So conversations where some days people are, they've had a really hard day and they don't quite have it in them to call a therapist or to make the appointment or to tell somebody that they're having a hard time. But if they can join a lobby and they can be with friends who also understand where they are, who they are, where they've been, we've provided a space, right? We've just facilitated the place. And so our first two streams, right out of the gate, we've had already over 500,000 unique viewers on the stream, so very well received. Yeah, and then we had over 10,500 peak concurrents. And so what this tells us is people want to have these real conversations. People want to be able to talk about hard things. And in the same way that, maybe when we were younger, we went to the mall and we talked to our friends, or we go golfing and you spend, 5 seconds taking the shot and you spend 4 hours actually walking the course talking to people. That's really what's at the core of these campaigns. And so while on the top they're presented as very, lighthearted, fun, there's games being played, or there's real work being done, and a real ability to leverage the tremendous amount of support that pours out of these communities if you can channel it in the right direction.
Yeah, it's off topic, but just to piggyback on what you were saying, do you guys know what Discord is? Okay, that's great. Yeah, everyone. So we have a Discord for our children who, all lost a parent. And we might game 2 hours every afternoon after school with these kids. But yesterday, I started crying with my mom, and there was a 16-year-old boy in our Discord that said, "Do you think if my dad was alive, he'd be proud of me? I just had my first day at my first job." And then another 13-year-old boy chimed in and said, quick poll, should I tell a girl I like her, yes, no, or I'm just weird? And 99 kids said, I'm just weird, and they all selected that one. But the community and the peer support that these kids are getting is 24/7, and the gaming is just a small part of that, so.
Yeah, and these conversations keep coming back to community, right? And we've been talking about that in other sessions as well, and how important that sense of community is. Personally, I think it's one of the reasons we all love the event industry, right? Because we're all one big crazy family, and it's amazing. So the fact that you all are providing that support through that means is just astounding. So our favorite thing always to talk about is how do we know if we're successful, right? So when you are doing game-based fundraising, what different kinds of metrics are you looking at? What kind of KPIs are you looking at? How do you know that things are working? Who wants to take that one first?
I have thoughts. I can start. Lots of different things, and obviously there's a lot of different types of events across gaming. We just talked about a number of them, and so those KPIs are going to change. But there's a lot of nonprofit folks in the room, and so probably one of most of our core mandates is fundraising, right? And so the Bungie Foundation, we've, through community building, through culture building over the years, we've obviously driven, campaigns like the one we did with Gold Star Gamers, all the way up into, massive multi-week streaming marathon fundraising events that raised $3 million. And so, there's a lot of different scale and scope, but for us, a couple of the core things that we're really looking at are kind of like who are our repeat donors, right? Like who are the people who we've really sort of integrated into our ecosystem, integrated into our culture, people who are, you know, paying attention to the work that we're doing, that are excited about the work that we're doing, and they're coming back time and time again. And so we really look at, you know, kind of who are our lapsed donors, maybe why did they lapse? When did they last donate, and what did we do in that campaign that was different than maybe the subsequent ones where we maybe lost them? You know, what are the repeat donors, and what are kind of the kind of things that we can find? Oh, like this person loves getting in-game rewards, which is something that we do every time we do a fundraiser, and they want to collect them all, right? They're kind of like the Pokemon type of players, and they want to collect every type of in-game reward, and anytime we do something, they're going to be there to donate. And then we look at, for us, a lot of our health is really around our content creators, on our streamers, and the relationships that we build with them, because they're such a core part of almost like our marketing arm. It's almost like we have hundreds of volunteer marketers getting out there and putting our name out there to their own communities. And so, you know, for us, a test of the strength that we have is, have we built those really great relationships? Are they eager to come back and support us with another live stream? Are they actually reaching out to us to say, hey, like, when's the next thing? How can I get involved? You know, wanting to build really personal relationships with us, rather than kind of like the transactional relationship. And of course, we're always looking at, you know, similar metrics that I'm sure a lot of you are, which is, you know, how many people donated to this campaign versus the last campaign? What was the average donation amount versus another? You know, if the numbers are significantly higher or lower, why was that, and how can we kind of course correct or innovate in ways that lead us, you know, further into the positive direction that we want to?
Yeah, I think, as you know, for us it's a little different. We are a cancer center, and we have a lot of folks on the philanthropy team who do a lot more like traditional fundraising, and so kind of demonstrating the value of this space has been interesting and definitely not easy all the time, because, you know, if we're bringing in, you know, millions of dollars through other avenues, and, you know, I'm raising like $50,000 a year or something, you know, that's a big difference. But I think something that I've, you know, really focused on is the reach, and specifically to new, diverse, and young communities. Really, I'm on the cusp between Gen Z and Millennial, so I feel equipped to, you know, oftentimes reach out to a lot of these communities directly, especially kind of in my age range as well, and really focusing on, okay, how many people am I reaching who are millennials, for example, because that's going to help us build up our donor base in the long run. We also think about like brand awareness, and, you know, how many views are on one of these live stream fundraisers where there's the gaming component, you know, there are 500 views. You know, that's 500 more people who probably haven't seen our logo before, or haven't heard about Fred Hutch. And so it's, you know, we do look at how much we've raised, but also kind of thinking about the larger picture, the larger reach. And we actually just had a stream last week that itself raised $50,000. And so that was a really big, pivotal change for me. I've been working at this for a few years, and, you know, finally kind of tapping into some of those larger creator communities. But it takes a lot of relationship building. It takes a lot of cold Discord DMs, a lot, like someone on your team has to be really dedicated to wanting to do this, and especially if you don't have a natural gaming component in your nonprofit.
Cold Discord DMs, that's not one I've had to do yet. Holy smokes.
It's not fun. It's actually terrifying.
Sometimes you get blocked, so yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, wow. You know, it's just one more channel to get blocked on, right?
Yeah.
Email, Slack, anything else, so we're good. So related to that then, you know, the challenges with fundraising, right? Like, you guys are unique, right? 98%, like, holy smokes, I want those numbers when I'm doing things. But when you're talking to potential corporate sponsors, for example, how do you understand, or how do you help them understand the value of engagement beyond just slapping a logo, right? Like, how do you get them involved with you so that they really want to kind of continue this sponsorship?
Well, I don't know. I'm struggling with that. No. I don't think you really have to. I think that there's low-hanging fruit, right? So there's a lot of companies out there that, not just in the tech space, but a lot of companies that see high value in connecting to, communities that game. And so I just, if it's the right company, you really don't have to sell them on the concept of being involved. Does that make sense? So our key sponsors are Verizon, Coal-Fire, and USAA. So USAA is a bank, but they're in the military community. They have around 20,000 gamers in their community. Verizon has also around 15,000 gamers in their community. So all of these big companies, they all have Discords and they all have ERGs, right? Employee resource groups that are usually self-organized and sometimes have a budget. And there's employee resource groups now for employees that game, and these companies that are global all over the world are creating employee engagement by having their employees game together, right? So think of this back in the days, you did team building exercises, right? Remember that? Or you'd have like lunch meetings and those kinds of things. And now they're playing video games. Microsoft does it as well. We've done a few events with Microsoft in South America and Europe. We're doing events this year in Manchester and London. Yeah, these companies already have it down. They already game and they already want to be involved, and we just have to give them the opportunity.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so for the companies that are less initiated with gaming, right, and understanding the value of gaming and what the way that you interact with viewers differently through gaming platforms. So one of the things that I like to point out is that normally when we're consuming linear media, traditional linear media with a logo placement spot, that's very passive consumption, right? Like we see it, it's gone, we move on. The core difference and the real value proposition with engaging with gaming is that you have active, engaged audience, and your likelihood for converting is so much stronger, because not only are you tethering to them emotionally, you've met them where they are, and you've given them an immediate next action to go take, right? And we have the ability on platform that you actually embed in your Twitch chat, you embed in your stream, you embed whatever that next push is. So not only do you immediately give them that call to action, you give them the means to act on it. And so what this does is it builds your pipeline, it builds your awareness, it builds a quality engagement, but also you've rewarded them instantly, so now they immediately feel good about what they've just done to engage with you. And so this is combining the core strategy of what makes games fun, right? That feedback loop. Positive, it's all about positive feedback loops and making sure that you're providing a positive feedback loop for your engagement point and then being able to push it past that.
Well, and I think you all have the story to share too, right? Like you can go out and people, USAA, for example, obviously that's a smart connection. It totally makes sense for you all. So I think when you're sharing that story too with the sponsors as to who you are, why you're doing this, who your audience is, I'm sure that plays a huge role in this as well. What about leveraging influencers and streamers? How can nonprofits and brands effectively collaborate with gaming influencers, gaming streamers to kind of expand their reach and raise funds?
I can take this one. I think for us, we have found a lot of success working with content creators and streamers who have a direct connection to Fred Hutch or to cancer. I mean, most of us are affected by cancer, have been affected by cancer, by loved ones, friends, etc., yourself. And so we have really focused on working with creators who, have that tie. And we work with a lot of Seattle-based creators as well, since we are, based in Seattle and Washington State. So that's kind of, we've worked with people from all across the world, but I would say we've had a lot of success really focusing on those groups. And, I think with leveraging creators, you don't need to just work with someone who has a ton of followers. We've found someone who might have 1 million followers on Twitch might raise $1,000, and then like the person I worked with this past week has about 10,000 followers on Twitch, and she raised $50,000. So it's all about their community that they've built and how they, run their fundraisers. And one thing also, just from being in the space for a while now, is, a lot of times these creators fundraise for multiple different organizations, and you want to be supportive in that. You're not going to be like, oh, I only want you exclusively fundraising for Fred Hutch, because they're going to do what they want to do. And maybe, we've had multiple people stream year over year, and then sometimes someone's like, this was just a one-time thing. I wanted to honor this loved one that had passed away to cancer, and I don't really want to talk about it anymore, So, that's kind of like traditional fundraising as well, sometimes tribute fundraising, but just being cognizant that you're not their like main priority all the time, and being willing to establish a relationship with them and know that they may come back, they may not, but the value of their time is still really important.
I have just another thing to add that came up while you were talking, especially right at the end, that relationship piece. I think the thing that I've noticed with our creator community is, one, that they're just that. They're a community of people who are super passionate about what they're doing. But they're creators for a reason. And for them, many of them, it is their business. It is their job. If they're a smaller creator, they probably have aspirations to become a larger, more well-known creator. And so to a certain extent, there's a level of like business relationship that also sort of needs to come into play. It's not just putting out a call and seeing who shows up, but it's how can I establish a really great relationship that is a mutual relationship, that there's a benefit for us, there's a benefit for them, and that we're showing up and recognizing them in the ways that are really meaningful. And for us as nonprofits, oftentimes that is not paid, right? Like we're not asking, to pay them to do their work, but they have their own goals and their own KPIs in terms of their viewership, in terms of how much time they want to be streaming and how they get recognized for that. So, so for us, for the Bungie Foundation, one of the ways that we've really sort of done that is we've kind of built this like a lifetime relationship cycle that thanks them, that rewards them, that recognizes them for the time that they spend with us, for the money they raise with us, that makes them feel really good about coming back and doing it again. And so, maybe they raise $500 for us the first time. We're going to celebrate the crap out of that $500, and they're going to want to come back, and the next time they're going to raise $2,500, and then they're going to raise $10,000. And each time we're going to continue to recognize them, celebrate them, reward them. Again, we're a very gamified nonprofit within the gaming space, so we can really leverage the games that we make and fun in-game rewards and things like that. But there's always other gamified ways to reward people in your ecosystem, even if you're not directly into like a video game like we are. So, kind of build, just like we have like sponsorship levels, right? And we have donor recognition. It's the same type of thing. Like they are your volunteer fundraisers in a lot of ways. And if they're not getting paid, they need to be recognized in some other way that it really resonates with them.
So for us, we are a mental health nonprofit serving youth, and so we're very, very, very protective over our brand and who we partner with. And so it's been a little bit intimidating working with different streamers out there. And we've had a few, situations where we were like, oh, we didn't realize this stuff was put out there on the internet or said even years ago, right? And so, like, for example, we won't partner with anyone that, if they have a commercial on their stream for, drugs or alcohol, which, no personal judgment on any of that, right? But we work with children. And so we have to be really careful. And so for us, we have maybe had 9 or 10 streamers we've worked with, but it's much easier for us to partner with other organizations such as August Interactive and Bungie Foundation, because then they're managing the relationship with the streamers, and we just are, logo sharing and partnering with their brand, if that makes sense. So we really appreciate both of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and if I can just double tap on when Jackie mentioned, and I think this is one of the things that's missed a lot, right, is that the number of viewers that the influencer or the streamer has does not equal what their actual influence is going to be for your mission. And so there's this assumption that you would want to go out there and you would want to get the ninjas or the Mr. Beasts or the typical gamers, right? You want to go get these big streamers with, millions of followers because that's who's going to be impactful. But what we actually found was I did a number of these on the Steam platform, and we had a chance to test this in a bunch of different ways. And the niche streamers, the niche influencers can uniquely speak to their community, like in Jackie's example of the streamer who had 10,000 followers but raised $50,000. That streamer understood their audience on a level that nobody that's so big that they can't actually meet you one-to-one, right? So finding the streamers or the influencers that are actually quality for your message, so that curation process is really important.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of times we overlook people, right? We go for the big fish. And sometimes the big fish aren't the best ones, right? The little ones are better. So it's a good lesson learned. What are some of the biggest challenges that any of you have faced in gaming-based fundraising, and how have you kind of just figured out how to overcome them? Or obviously, I'm sure there's things you're still working on, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you can share?
I can start. So for us, so because we don't have our own game, right? Like the Bungie Foundation is incredibly fortunate. Like what they're doing is, I wish more companies would follow the model of what Bungie's doing. But because we don't have our own IP or our own game, and we are simultaneously trying to draw from game IPs that we can use for fundraising, and also matchmake it with sponsors and the appropriate audience and community, right? So there's this Venn diagram of things. And oftentimes, and unfortunately in the industry right now, a lot of the most competitive games or the most engaging games are also your first-person shooters, or ones that have some sort of violence attached to them. And so finding the opportunities for games that create a competitive fun space like Rocket League, like some of the other games that we can play with, gives us that opportunity. But really, scarcity of IP is one of the most challenging things that we have to overcome, because not all sponsors want to support all IPs. And there's this whole kind of matrix of what people are comfortable with.
Yeah, for us, it's having the kids involved. And so if someone wants to stream for us, then they want our kids to be on their stream. And we can't control our kids' physical space because they're not co-located with us. And you never know, what's going to happen at their house. And so we're really careful with what kids we allow on what streams. I mean, these are kids in trauma, right? And so even though the kids want to participate, we have to protect our population that we're responsible for. And so I think our limitation in allowing our children to participate in fundraising is the most challenging thing for us.
Gosh, we've had a few challenges. I would say staff time is definitely one of them. This is probably about 30% of my job. And so, I think I've had support from other people within my department who are just interested in gaming and want to help and get involved, which has been amazing. But I think if I had, a full staff or someone dedicated, I could definitely grow more. And then another challenge is, as more of a local nonprofit versus the St. Jude American Cancer Society, there is a name recognition, especially by a lot of bigger or just overall gamers and Twitch streamers that we just don't have in comparison. And so we have, after a few years in this space, growing the program, we do have people reach out to us now, but it is still majority of me reaching out to folks, which is, a lot of staff time, a lot of effort. And so I think that's something that, I struggle with, not comparing, more of a local charity to one of these larger chapter ones. So something I just have to keep in mind.
I think for us, probably the longest term challenge that we've been working through and continue to sort of hone in on is building a subculture within a much larger culture. We do have a very specific sort of dedicated audience with the many millions of players that play Destiny, but certainly not all many millions of those care about the work that we're doing. And so building our own sort of voice, building a culture of giving and caring and compassion and community that is unique within an already sort of unique landscape has been important for us, because when we didn't really have that unique subculture of caring, we were really sort of at the whim of what was happening in the larger Destiny ecosystem, right? Like, a new, part of the game comes out and people are super stoked about it. And so, then we do a fundraiser and everyone's paying attention to us, and so everyone wants to donate. But when there's a lull in the game, or the latest release wasn't as exciting as people wanted it to be, and people are kind of like, I don't want to play Destiny right now, it also meant that they didn't want to donate to us either, because their emotional tie to our organization was 100% tied to what was happening in the game. And so we've spent a lot of years really sort of, again, building that subculture, really understanding what drives people to give, what does community mean for us, and how can we build that subculture so that regardless of the ebbs and flows of what's happening with the game or the IP specifically, we know that we have a dedicated core of people who are always going to show up for us, always care what we're doing, and support the work that we're doing.
Excellent. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So I know we're like, there's no way we're going to make it through all of this. So let's talk about the folks in the audience. So for any nonprofits or companies who are new to gaming fundraising, what's their first step? What would you suggest that they should do for their first step? What steps should they take?
I would say start watching. I just went to YouTube and I just started watching like all these fundraising streams just to figure out, what was out there. And there's some really, really creative stuff happening, like really, really fun things to watch.
Yeah, if you're a nonprofit, I would sign up for the platform Tiltify. That's how we accept a lot of our donations, and a lot of gamers utilize Tiltify to fundraise. And so that's just like getting your name on the platform so a streamer can choose you and fundraise for you if they want when they're gaming or streaming. And I think depending on kind of your typical like constituent base, like is there anyone, in your donor base already who might be a gamer or who is connected in the gaming industry? Do you already, have a gaming company or someone in the industry who is supporting your organization, and can they connect you to certain people? So I think, we've had kind of people come out of the woodworks a little bit who, have already supported us and are like, oh, I didn't know you were doing this, So I think kind of look inwards as well.
I was also just going to say, like, if you have people in your own company that like to play games, lean on them, right? Like, these platforms, Twitch as an example, if you already kind of do some, video marketing or whatever else, like, make one of your marketing activations a live stream with your own employees. You already have this donor base that's paying attention. Post a link on social to your live stream on Twitch. Start playing some games, start talking about your organization, start talking about whatever initiative you already want to get that marketing message out there, but just have some fun while you're doing it and see how those numbers start to kind of play up and build that muscle a little bit, and sort of continue to sort of build the expectation with your existing donor community that like, these are fun activations that they can start to look forward to more and more.
Yeah, I can't stress the fun part enough. Games are fun. Games should be fun, even though undoubtedly, right, like all of your organizations are doing very serious work. Don't take it so seriously on Twitch. So you have to be able to laugh with your community. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. You have to be able to relate to the audience and be vulnerable, because that is what people resonate with, right? And so there inevitably is some currents to go against, because we want to present as very polished, and we want to present as for philanthropic organizations, you want to be very credible and you want to be very presentable. But at the end of the day, if people are having fun with you, they're emotionally bonding with you, and they're going to be that much more supportive of you. So be playful.
I think the thing that you just touched on is, I think it's just important all across the board. It's like kind of one of the things I think we see on social right now, which is people connect to people, not companies, not products, not whatever. So the more we become just our normal selves in real life, because we're all like goofy, weird people, like the more we just are ourselves in the work that we're doing, the more relatable we become and the more excited people are to engage with us.
Yeah, that being real is really important. They all actually like threatened to do like a prank on me today, so I'm a little disappointed that they didn't. But I think that's a great way for us to wrap this up, right? Is to just have fun, right? So I'm going to let Sasha close it up here in just a second, but obviously I'm sure nobody here has any questions for anybody up that's on this panel. So these amazing ladies are going to be available after the session. I think you guys are going to head over to the speaker meet and greet area. So for anybody that has any questions, feel free to kind of follow them over there. Actually, hopefully let them actually make it there too. But I just want to thank you for your time and your knowledge and being able to share all of this information with everybody here. So thank you for coming up and having this discussion with us today. Can we give them a round of applause, please?